let's talk about From Dusk Till Dawn, a movie written by Quentin Tarantino and directed by Robert Rodriguez, a film very much of two halves, kicking off as a kind of crime thriller, but then merging into a fucking vampire film. Myself and Stu are going to chat about this one.
Well, my initial impression was that Benny's World of Liquor sounds and looks like any establishment that I know that I'd die in.
This is, of course, the place where the first scene happens, where we've got our Gecko brothers, Seth and Richie, which is Tarantino himself, and George Clooney. I am not a George Clooney guy. However, I like George Clooney in this film.
Do you? I think he looked way better at Batman with his bat nipples than he did as this. Yeah, he looks like a fucking Poundland Tony Montana, didn't he?
Well, of course, Richie's whole thing is that he's massively unstable. Very rapey vibes that you get from Richie in this film.
I don't think it's rape vibes. I think it's full-on rape.
That's just a slight slither of rape. But, like, Seth is, like, out of the two of them, way more level-headed, but also because it's his brother, he's just got to fucking stand up for him and believe him.
It's like Kane and the Undertaker.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Which of them was the rapist, Stu? I can't quite recall the storylines.
Would have been Kane.
Gotta be.
Definitely Kane. They instantly get into this gunfight and then decide to just set the shopkeeper on fire, who apparently can still have a gunfight while he's just burning alive, which I thought was quite impressive.
You can tell it's a Tarantino script,
yeah,
can't you?
You really can. I kind of enjoyed it, but at the same time, the film looks really, like, good while looking bad at the same time. I can't even really describe it. It looks poorly made whilst being well made.
Yeah, I guess Robert Rodriguez. But I do get that, and for me, like, I watched this a lot when I was growing up, and I always was like, all right, when are the vampires coming? Because that's all I wanted to see. But now, I actually think I prefer the pre-vampire bit. It's actually got quite a lot of cool scenes and moments and tension. We've got Jacob and his two kids, Scott and Kate. They're like a religious family, but Jacob's like losing his faith because his wife's died. And Seth sort of like gets to them at, like a motel and says, basically, we want your RV and we want you to smuggle us across the border to Mexico because we've got business in Mexico. It plays off like a quite serious sort of like thriller in quite a few parts.
What I learnt from this, though, is it's pretty fucking easy to get across the border, wasn't it?
You just need to get your fanny out?
Yeah, just hide in the bathroom to fool those Mexican doggies and you're all right. It's almost like they needed some kind of wall to keep these rapists and murderers out of Mexico, wasn't it? If only someone could think of this.
Yeah, from Trump till dawn.
Oh my God. I'll tell you where I really started enjoying this film. It's when they reached the Titty Twister and I just saw loads of machineries and tits.
All you're about as a man.
I love it. And apparently loads of pussy.
Oh, the pussy man. Hot pussy, cold pussy, smelly pussy.
Yeah, and he's like, horse pussy, chicken pussy. It's like, at what point did someone rock up and go, you haven't advertised horse? And he's like, well, we don't have it. And they're like, well, I'm not coming. And they fucked off to the point he was like, we have to now advertise this. It was also false advertising, because inside that place I didn't see a single chicken and a horse pussy that was advertised, and I was quite disappointed by that. What I did see, Connor, is a man with a cock gun.
Oh, sex machine, baby.
How does that work, though?
Yeah, how does he trigger this?
Just thrusts.
It's a good mechanism, though, however it is. Put life... I love the Titty Twister as a setting, though.
I bet you fucking do. All kinds of pussy. There was no need for them to beat up Pussy Man outside either, was there?
He's just doing his job, you know what I mean? I mean, he's a lying bastard, but he's on the payroll. We're introduced to Danny Trejo. Why would he not be in this film?
I love Danny Trejo. I don't know why, though, because he's not great, is he?
No.
Like, it started really well, right? There was just titties everywhere. There's, like, sexy dancers.
Salma Hayek scene.
Oh, mate. She's fantastic, isn't she?
The Santanico pandemonium.
But then, all of a sudden, we just have this fucking lizard woman attacking everyone. Like,
how we've got, like, fucking left field.
Lizards versus geckos. I couldn't fucking work it out. The one thing that I did like was the band. Who suddenly their instruments just turn from guitars to like dead body guitars. They've just become guar, haven't they, out of fucking nowhere? Yeah. Until they spontaneously explode later on.
What the fuck is that Yeah, it's gotta be one of the biggest, like, 180 switches ever in film. Like, could you imagine the people who went to see this not knowing it was a vampire film? It's such a sharp change in, like, the tone and the narrative that it just feels like you're watching two different films, even though it's the characters you've been following for an hour.
It didn't even seem like vampires, did it?
It's weird because there's so many, like, I mean, I guess a lot of them are intentional because it's quite tongue-in-cheek, but so many inconsistencies with how these vampires work. Some of them are like lizard people and some of them aren't. Like, they all look completely fucking different. In terms of them dying, so some of them can only die by having their hearts destroyed. Some of them just get stabbed anywhere and die. Some of them have chandeliers fall on them and die. When some of them die, some burn up and other ones don't burn up. So, like, I don't get it. It's like there's about 5 different types of vampire in this room and they all respond different.
They go into like a storeroom and they're just able to craft like impeccable weaponry. Come out with like the henchest looking crossbow ever known to man. You look like Van Helsing, for fuck's sake.
That whole segment's really funny because at that point, Jacob, the pastor, he's been bitten and he's like, right, I've got probably about an hour before I change. I mean, first off, how the fuck do you know that? Because everyone you've seen bitten in the film up to this point has changed almost immediately. Somehow he takes the longest. So they all back up into the room and they're like, right, we've got about an hour. I'm going to help you kill them. Let's have a look at this stuff we've got in these crates from these truckers who've been getting killed. And there's like a full-on montage. They've got to be looking in these crates. Look how many crates there are. They must have been looking in them for a good hour. George Clooney's been carving a bastard steak for about half an hour in the corner, all to make like a pump action like drill, which is sick actually.
So, yeah, it actually is, isn't it? But I don't know. It's weird. They haven't needed anywhere near this like level of craftsmanship to make weapons. They've just used pretty much anything. I look, at one point, someone arms himself with a fucking pencil. He makes friends with Richard Hammond as well, doesn't he? There's a guy who looks just like Richard fucking Hammond.
Are you on about Sex Machine?
Yeah.
Big Tom Savini, lad. That is definitely Richard Hammond. I will never look at him the same way.
Yeah, he does.
Again.
He just, and like, it's not just the fact that everyone dies differently. Like, everyone looks totally different when they're vampire-ized as well, aren't they? Like,
yeah, when Richie turns into a vampire, he looks like the Frankenstein monster.
Yeah, all the girls just look like they're from an Aphex Twin video, don't they? Like. And then you've got Richard Hammond that just somehow, he gets his arm bitten, apparently feels no pain whatsoever, but then turns into Mega Hammond. Somehow he looks more like Richard Hammond when he turns than when he... The black guy just looks like a fucking bat. It just makes no sense.
It's so strange. There's no consistency. But also I quite like that every single vampire is like a unique thing. The characters, like the main characters, they die some canny brutal deaths in fairness. So Scott, he gets decimated. So not only does he have about like 5 vampires ripping apart on him at once, he gets shot and then explodes. This is after his dad's bitten him as well, who's turned into the vampire and had half his face melted off with fucking holy water, followed by having his head blown clean through. It's fucking just explosive mental damage done to these characters. Like,
I didn't like the end of this film because it just kind of ends. It started off where I thought, oh, this is going to be alright. It's going to be a bit like, you know, this murderous family. It's going to be just them like road tripping. It almost started quite seriously and then descended into almost like trying to be comedic with it while still trying to retain its seriousness. And I don't know. It was like, it was a shit film without being a shit film. It's really weird. It was a bit like I said at the beginning, where it was like, it looked good while looking shit. It was watchable, but it was unwatchable. It was good, but it was not good. I just think it's totally mediocre.
Like, on average, it balances out.
Yeah, like, whatever way you can look at it, you still end up, like, bang in the middle and think, it was alright.
I can definitely see that standpoint. I do think that the vampire element to the film is the weakest part of the film, but at the same time, it also is what makes the film fucking unique and weird. Overall, I still enjoy it as a film on the whole.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. I genuinely just think it was okay.
Yeah. Well, there we go then. That was our honest review of From Dusk Till Dawn. Do you like the film? Do you not? Let us know in the comments below and join us next time for another Friday Fright Time. Cheers.